Wanted to show a few things I've done since my last video. I added a TPMS monitor here to give me my tire pressure. I added a little thing here, and this was 20 bucks on Amazon. So it shows me my voltage, and what I liked about this one is it's got this removable plug, which is the same thing I use to charge it. So like to keep the battery topped off, I've got a battery mender from Harbor Freight. Well, I can just unplug that and plug directly in and charge my battery. So that gives me a charger, and it also gives me a quick and easy way to charge my battery if I'm storing it or whatever. And it can turn on and off right there. So kind of handy, and it's waterproof. The other thing I had, where'd it go? This light left over from my Transalp, and I wanted to use it, and I just took the bracket that was on there and twisted it and gave myself a light, and it was a little better, but it wasn't great. So I made these brackets. So they bolt on here, come down here, and that gives me a place for my lights. And I've added these two lights, and I think they're 1300 lumens a piece. So you can see how bright, hang on, let me turn that. They are. So quite a bit brighter. And I've got them set up to where when I turn my bright lights off, they turn off. When I turn my bright lights on, they turn on. So that gives me a super nice set of lights. I ordered 2 of these, and I'm probably going to order one more. But the idea, that connector there on my Transalp box, I'm actually going to put a connector on the side over here, where I can plug that type of wire into it, so it'll come back here and plug in to my box, basically. And then inside of my box, so I'll weatherproof that and all that kind of stuff. And then inside my box, I'll have one of these surface mounted, wired in to the 2 wires that come in here. I'll have a couple of other things like Anderson power pole, things like that on my Transalp, where I can actually use 12 volts back here when I'm riding it. But I'm going to set it up probably to where when you turn the key on, this powers on. And the idea behind that is, now this would be on my Transalp, and I'm probably going to do the same thing with this one. But you would end up with a USB-C connector somewhere in here. Your 2 12-volt wires would come in through here, and when you take the box off, you just unplug it, and that gives you another 12-volt line back in here. But then when it's plugged in, and then you flip your key on and you're riding down the road, I've got a jump starter, air compressor deal, and a battery bank and all that I keep in my Transalp, and I'm eventually going to buy another one for this one. They're about 40-50 bucks, and they're worth their weight in gold. But the idea is I'd be able to, one of my problems with them is as you're riding, a lot of times the batteries just go dead. So you forget about it, your battery's dead. Well, if I've got a USB-C cable and I build me a little thing where that slides in, and it's got its own little pocket, probably on this side, I can run a charger over to it. And then essentially whenever I'm going down the road, that is charging this device. So it's consistently keeping it topped off wherever I'm at, which will give me a full jump starter every time I stop. So on my Transalp, I don't have a Kickstarter like this one has. It's right there. So my Transalp, if your battery goes dead, you're kind of screwed. So if I've got one of those jump boxes here and it's dead, it don't do me any good. But if it's charging every time I get on the bike and crank it, to me, that's a good way to do it. So That's what I'm probably going to do, and eventually I'll do the same thing in this box. I'll get the same type of setup in this and go that route. So anyway, that's what I've added to it lately. There's the TPMS sensors for this thing, and everything works. I do have somewhere, see these brackets. If anybody wants these are aluminum. I made them out of steel and aluminum. I've got to spray paint those. But I want to see how the aluminum ones do. I've got a weld here, and I'm probably going to make some and just bend them on my press brake instead of having a thing. Sometimes it's easier for me to just cut them at work and score them and then just bring the flats home than it is to go over there, undo the press brake and reset stuff up and all that. So a lot of times I'll just do this and I can test stuff. I went with some thick material here because, man, it's solid as a rock. I don't have to worry about that. These bolts were long enough that they actually protruded all the way through. So, I've taken a little bit of the bolt engagement away, but not much. Worst case, what I might end up doing is going with some longer bolts through here. And I even thought about building myself a bracket that comes up, over, and back, and use really long bolts and have one more light here that's more like a floodlight that I can turn on. And so I would end up with like not one of these, but a different one that's more of a flood. These are focused. They're more of a spotlight. I could put a floodlight right here, just like these, and have a really nice light that's here and it's out of the way. And that would give me an additional light if I wanted it. So, anyway, that might be what I do. But if anybody is interested in these brackets, I made a bunch of them just to test and out of different material, and I've got some extras. So if you've got a Hawk 250 and you want to add some lights to them, originally I was going to do a bend here, and if you look at my Transalp, the brackets for my Transalp do that. So you can see how they come down and bend. But to be completely honest with you, I don't really like the way these are. And on my Transalp, I'm seriously considering building myself some brackets like these and having them go sideways, just like I did on that other one. And then again, coming over like this and having a middle light, like a floodlight on this as well. So that would give me a really good lighting that I would be able to use on my Transalp. But you can see how these did, and originally my flat that would have gone over here would have had that same bend in it for my Hawk 250, but I actually prefer this, so I just ended up taking that cut out so it wouldn't do that and leaving them straight, and they flipped this way. So it's actually a simpler bracket, and that one is made out of pretty thin gauge. That's what, 090, something like that, and that's 125. So I made them out of aluminum just because I had a piece of scrap laying around, and I figured, shoot, it's lighter weight, which, I don't know how much that weight matters, but I may eventually make myself some aluminum ones that go here instead, just to cut down on weight maybe. But either way, quick and dirty thing. I did get some more of these in, and I'm going to put them back here and replace these. So I've got the packs somewhere around here laying around on the ground, but yeah, I'm telling you, man, I really like this little motorcycle. It's a lot of fun. So either way, have a great day. Again, if anybody wants some brackets for their this thing, because these lights just absolutely suck, hit me up. These lights were $26 on Amazon, and I think they're 1300 watt or lumens, 1300 lumens a piece. So, $26 and a quick, cheap and dirty set of brackets. And all I did is I ran a ground and a hot wire. The plug-in that goes to this headlight, I took that plug-in and I spliced into the wiring, so I've got the hot and the ground coming out of the bright light thing. I also put an LED headlight bulb in there, so it actually pulls less lumens than the original ones, or less wattage than the original ones. So really, between these three, it works really well, and it gives me a nice set of lights. I think the other one, whenever I put another one here, I think what I'm going to do with it is wire it in to where eventually I'll have a switch. I've ordered some switches like I have on my Transalp that'll just be up here somewhere where I can flip the lights on and off. I'll be able to disable these lights. But eventually I'm going to put, what I was thinking is set it up to where the flood that's here would be like my dim light. And then when I flip my brights on, all of them come on at the same time. I have to use a diode or something like that to where they wouldn't interfere with each other. But then what I'll probably do is put a relay in here, run another line from the battery up here to the relay, and then this would just end up being a signal wire to the relay. That way I won't have to worry about it so much. But either way, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So have a great day. Bye.